All right, guys. So we got some big news here to talk about. So apparently, our San Antonio Spurs are interested in Austin Reaves. So what I wanted to do is look at where this even came from, because obviously there's so many articles talking about it. But contextualize it a little bit. We'll actually listen to the podcast a little bit, and then after that, we'll talk about his salary and what we would have to pay him, as well as if it would even be worth it based on the type of player he is and the situation that we're even in right now. So.
I want some nasty. Are we having fun yet?
So, let's dive into it. But before we do, if you guys want to support the channel, clanthemerchfan.com, link in the description. You can go to the website, get yourself some merch, or if you don't want to do that, you can become a patron or YouTube member, only $2 per month, sorry. Or here's another thing, you can just subscribe. So at the very least, subscribe to the channel, and I appreciate all the love that you guys give nonetheless. So let's go ahead and dive into this. So this was the article that was making rounds, and then there were other articles that started coming out about it, but this is the actual podcast. So let's listen to a couple segments here. We'll listen to the beginning of it and what they had to say about the Los Angeles Lakers and how much they will be willing to pay. And then we'll jump to what they had to say about the Spurs, which was pretty doggone brief. So, yeah.
And talking with people around the league, Austin Reaves' situation is one of the most fascinating because it appears essentially that Austin Reaves is either going to get a 4-year, $54 million deal, whatever the max the Lakers can offer, or it's going to take a team coming in for $100 million to really move the needle with a restricted free agency offer sheet. I've spoken to some executives and some think he's worth 80. I think I'm curious. Once free agency unfolds, maybe some teams don't get guys that they thought they would get that have cap space. Could they make a bigger offer sheet and go up to that 100 million? That remains to be seen.
Okay, so it's a big segment of this where they just kind of ask questions and talk about hypotheticals. But let's go ahead and dive into when they talk about the Spurs pretty briefly, mind you. But yeah.
And just having the ball in his hands more, I think you saw he could step up and really be that secondary guy that most teams are looking for. So I think the Lakers are going to retain him. Obviously, their preference would be to sign him to the 4-year, $54 million deal. I've heard that there are going to be multiple suitors out there. Just from talking to people around the league, like you mentioned Orlando and Houston. I've heard San Antonio could be a dark horse team that will try to poach Austin from the Lakers, but that's whatever it is, I think he's priority one for the Lakers this offseason. Like I think they learn from the Alex Caruso situation, and frankly, I think this would be a bigger disaster than the Alex Caruso situation, just because Austin's a better player.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk about it. So what you heard there is that what the Lakers are going to attempt to do is offer him about $54 million for 4 years, which I think that will be a great deal for the Lakers. But Austin Reaves can obviously get more than that. Now, one segment that I didn't play, and this is where I sit back and I think that the Spurs aren't going to get him. It's a few reasons, but this is probably the bigger one, is the fact that the Lakers apparently, at least if this report is true, they're willing to sign up to $100 million for 4 years, which if I'm the Spurs, I just wouldn't do that. The biggest reason why I wouldn't do that, not to say Austin Reaves isn't worth it necessarily. Like if you look at our salaries right now, he'll be making around, well, is much more actually than what Keldon Johnson's going to be making. But Keldon Johnson is going to be making $20 million this upcoming year. After that, it's 19. It goes down. So he'll be making about 25, which isn't bad at all. But at the same time, Austin Reaves with the Lakers, I don't know if he'll 100% be Austin Reaves with the Spurs. With the Lakers, a lot of things were opening up to him, okay? But with the Spurs, even though we will have Wemby, even though Sohan will make some steps, at the same time, we're still going to be a growing team, and he's not going to necessarily be able to just in my opinion, take over the way that he's been able to take over next to Anthony Davis and LeBron James. I really do like him as a player, and I think that he's a winner, and I think that he's worth a shot to try to get him on the team. It's just that 100 million tab. If the Lakers are trying to go up to 100 million, I don't know if you offer more than that. But that's just me. That's just me. But here's another reason for that as well. Another reason for that is that if you guys know, you should know this because we talked about it. The San Antonio Spurs are trying to trade up in the draft. So if you're wondering when you can even sign these players, so when would they even be able to sign them? It will be 8 days after the NBA draft. And I'm assuming or hoping that something happens during the draft where the San Antonio Spurs can go ahead and grab a guard that will be much younger, who has also very high upside. Now, don't get me wrong, Austin Reaves, is only 25 years old. Not only is he only 25, he turned 25 like a couple days ago. So he is nowhere near his prime. So don't get that twisted. And if the Spurs were to go after him, me personally, I think that 80 million tab is probably your best bet. Because going down the line, man, it might be some things available. I'm thinking like maybe in the next 3 years that the San Antonio Spurs could really try to find some other pieces for Wemby at that point. I think everybody be ready at that point. So I don't know. I just want as much flexibility as possible. And I don't know if putting that much money on Austin Reaves would be necessarily worth it. But that's just me. I do like him as a player. I do think that he's a very talented player, and he's not in his prime yet. And I understand all of that. And I also think that he would go very well with Wembanyama. But you have a lot of options here. You have a lot of flexibility here. And if this is true, if the Spurs can go ahead and try to move up or get an extra pick in this draft and get them a guard, I don't really know if it's worth it. Another thing as well, we talked about Podziemski as a potential option in the second round. I know a lot of reports now are saying that he could go, I think 25, which that would suck. He's an option. You got someone that's like Turquavian Smith that you can go after. I know that he's not your ideal point. He's more of a microwave guard or whatnot. But I don't know. I just think that you have a lot of flexibility here, and I wouldn't necessarily just throw all that money on him right out the bat. Another thing too, if you guys are interested as far as like how much cap space the Spurs even have, as you can see here, we're going to have a total of 37 million. We could have 43 million in cap space, but that will be us dropping Zach Collins, which isn't going to happen because the Spurs like love Zach Collins. He got a lot of praise from Greg Popovich at the end of the season. So I'm assuming that he'll still be here with us, and he's making like nearly nothing. Like he's playing over his contract, I think. So I don't know. You guys, you let me know what you think. I do like Austin Reaves. I don't necessarily think it's like a hype machine like some people might say. But at the same time, I don't know if it's worth it. But really quick, we can just look at his stats. So over the season, while he's been a pretty good player, statistic wise, 13 points per game, 3 rebounds per game, 3.4 assists per game, and a 53% field goal percentage. And yeah, so let me see. It was something that stood out to me that I wanted to mention to you guys. Where is it? Which one was it? Oh, sorry. Here it is. My mind went blank. It was the turnovers. The fact this past season, he only had 1.5 turnovers, and a big chunk of the season, the ball was in his hands often. So very impressive. So I don't know. It's just one of those situations where I would be very weary on Austin Reaves because of the situation that he was in, and because guys like Anthony Davis and LeBron James just require so much attention. It really helped him, and he was able to shine in that environment. And I'm not 120% sure if he goes to San Antonio that it'll translate to the point where like a lot of fans will think it'll be worth that $25 million a year that you might be looking to pay for him. So just throwing that out there. You guys let me know what you think. But anyways, I'll give it to you guys later. If you want to support the channel, as always, clanthemerchfan.com or become a patron or YouTube member, only $2 per month. Until next time, bye.